Hello everyone, today our group will present on what UTP students can learn and do to prepare for earthquake based on Haiti earthquake in 2010. Before we begin our presentation, let me introduce my group members, me, myself, Devon, Aisha, Kokpin, Iza and Manjusri.
This is HESM to discuss the factors causing the Haiti earthquake, how to affect the mentally and physically of the citizens, and lastly, how UTP students can learn and overcome this situation if it's happened in the future. For this research, we use two methodology which is quantitative and qualitative. For quantitative, we use a survey approach where the survey will be carried out using Google Form and it will be shared through social media such as WhatsApp and Telegram to 30 UTP students. The respondent will be asked to respond on what they learned from the tragedy and the steps could they prepare to overcome this situation if it's happened in the future. The second method, which is qualitative, we use the grounded theory approach where we collect the data from the past case studies and the online research.
For introduction part, an earthquake is a sudden shaking of the ground caused by seismic wave passing through the earth rock. And on 2010 January 12, a large-scale earthquake struck the West Indian island of Hispaniola, which include the country of Haiti and Dominican Republic. And after the earthquake, which is the next 12 days, total of 52 aftershocks were recorded. An earthquake in Haiti created major social impact as since it destroyed transportation and communication in Haiti. Not only that, there's leakage of chemical leak into the environment and causing environmental impact. And luckily, UTP is located in Peninsular Malaysia, which is just outside of the Ring of Fire, which is considered as an earthquake-free zone because it's located really far from the active seismic fault region.
Literature review. The Haiti earthquake happened on 12 of January 2010. Haiti is located in the Caribbean Ocean in the western portion of the island of Hispaniola. The earthquake had a magnitude of 7 and its epicenter was 25 kilometers from the capital. The length of time the earthquake lasted was about 15 to 20 seconds but sparked a massive international rescue effort. Speaking of Malaysia, the location Malaysia is in is believed to be classified as medium earthquake hazard with a 10% chance of earthquakes to potentially have a high percentage of damage towards buildings and citizens. It was believed that a magnitude of about 7 megawatt occurred inland approximately 25 kilometers west of Port-au-Prince, also known as Haiti's capital city. The estimated death range is over 220,000. Haiti is also seismically active, which makes the location prone to having destructive earthquakes. The Haiti earthquake impacted the population socially, economically, and environmentally. The physical damage in Port-au-Prince region had short-term social consequences. This includes 1 million people being displaced with damaged water, transportation, and communication infrastructure, which hampered aid delivery and emergency services. This included 4,000 schools, 8 hospitals, 75 government buildings, and even the presidential palace. Haiti's bird government was obliterated. Fires were caused by faulty electricity cables causing damage to wooded areas, and tidals were caused flooding in coastal areas.
Research questions. First, why is Haiti prone to earthquakes? Second, in what ways the people of Haiti are affected by the earthquake? Third, what are the obstacles that the citizens gone throughout the earthquake incident? Fourth, what UTP students can learn from this Haiti earthquake? Fifth, what are the possible measures that UTP students can consider improving readiness to able to avoid the similar inconvenient situation in the future again? Now let's see the objective. First objective, to understand and evaluate the causes of the Haiti earthquake relating to its location. Second, to analyze ways in which UTP students prepare for the earthquake as well as interpret the ways of how the higher authorities react to the post-earthquake situation. Now let's see the hypothesis. First hypothesis, Haiti is positioned near the intersection of two plates. When the two plates shift, an earthquake occurs. Second, citizens in Haiti were severely impacted by the earthquake, with many losing their homes and employment. Third, several control techniques that may be explored to increase the preparedness in the case of earthquake in the future.
Now, I will continue with significance of this study. Our studies really show on application in real life of action towards natural disaster that has been happening and how it can be implied by us as a university student. Hence, the subject of scientific inquiry has been our medium to study nature disasters. This study has been done involve asking questions observing certain issues that may lead to the precise solution, and that's where research or study is always done to get a sharp vision of what has happened and ways to prevent it in the future. This paper contributes to the factors, consequences, and affected victims of the incident and what can we prepare for earthquake in future and our role as a student. Thus, understanding and evaluating the causes of Haiti earthquake could provide an answer for it. Not only that, but analyzing some proper ways for the before or post earthquake as a preparation. The research will also be an instrumental for the governments and NGOs to grasp for that situation.
A survey had been carried out using Google Form and shared through social media applications such as WhatsApp and Telegram. We know that 30 UTP students has answered the survey. Based on the first chart, the respondents who experienced the largest group were respondents aged 21 to 23 years old, which is 56.7%, while the next group is from the age of 18 to 20 years old, which is 33.3%. Moreover, as we can see that the respondents are not many from the age of 23 years and above. From the second chart, we can see the highest number of undergraduate, as many as 22 respondents, with the highest percentage of 73.3% who has answered the survey, and also a total of 6 respondent students from foundation, 20%. Apart from that, postgraduate respondent is the lowest, which is 2 respondents equivalent to 6.7%. According to the gender distribution of response, which is the third chart, 17 respondents were male, which is 56.7%, while 13 respondents were female, 43.3%. First question of the survey on we asked generally to the respondents is that they heard or know of Haiti earthquake 2010. They know this incident happened, which some of them agree to by family, news and social media. For question 2, which we asked the respondents on the reason of earthquake happened in Haiti 2010. Most respondents know clearly what are reasons of the earthquake happened in Haiti, which is improper building infrastructure and deforestation. For question 3, we asked the respondents the impact was after the earthquake incident, which mainly chosen is many people died. For fourth question, we can say the most respondents agree that precaution step is important to be focused. Fifth, as an open-ended question about the steps to overcome this incident, as students should be alert on local news. UTP could start planning to build a shelter for students in case for future earthquakes, and that UTP management should be more careful on where they plan to construct future buildings to avoid major impact and injuries whenever an earthquake attacks.
Grounded theory. Grounded theory is a strategy used largely to generate naturalistic research. We use grounded theory for this report because it provides specific ways to deal with the analytic phases of study. Grounded theory is important as it lays forth clear sequential principles for conducting qualitative research. First case study was titled Haiti Earthquake Response. We were able to gain knowledge on the outcomes after the tragedy in 2010. The case study elaborated in depth on how they solved the problems as well as the results. These include requesting emergency response. By this case study, we were able to construct an idea on what and how the emergency services organize and plan solutions for the population and buildings of Port-au-Prince post-earthquake. The second one is titled The Haiti Case Study, written by researchers from Harvard Medical School. The team traveled to Haiti for 23 days interviewing and gathering research amongst the people affected by the earthquake. This case study provides details on how the disaster impacted health systems in Haiti. This is important as it involves the health and wellness of the population and how we as a team studying the Haiti earthquake can learn from previous tragedies and apply them in real life for UTP students. The last case study was titled Sheltering in Haiti, Looking Forward While Looking Back. Houses and buildings destroyed by the earthquake and how they plan on building shelters, and due to large-scale material imports, land pressure and other problems, the construction of over 100,000 planned shelters took 2 years, exceeding the intended planning deadline, which was the start of the 2011 hurricane season. We can learn from the case study by providing shelters prior to earthquake attacks to avoid the same situation happening in UTP.
There are 3 main factors of causing the earthquake in Haiti. The first was having low interaction of social and economic forces. That's actual natural danger, which means that a simple action has not been taken care of, as it always led to the disadvantages of country, such as low economic growth of country and weak governments. Secondly, the continued influence of foreign powers in Haiti's domestic affairs begins immediately after the independence, are one of the causes too, as they take over those expensive industrial business and playing the vital role in Haiti's economic and left the citizens unemployed. Haiti's citizens also do build their homes and buildings in dangerous places for a variety of reasons, and one of it is overpopulation, thus their lack of space. The impacts of the earthquake are more obviously that had killed millions of people's lives. Besides, the incident had bring the corruption of many important buildings of the country, such as hospitals and government buildings. The earthquake also caused occurring of second hazard, which is liquefaction and landslides, resulting in more damage and loss of life. These incidents mostly took place in the Port-au-Prince, as most of the flatlands were near the capital of the city. Furthermore, many farmers or agricultural landholders had lost their land, and with that, the source of income of the citizens were. Last but not least, the challenges overcome by the citizens. Lots of people lost their job due to many buildings were destroyed and caused 8 billion in economic damages. Not only that, but it was also difficult getting aid into the area because of the issues at the airport and poor management of the situation. Then, ineffective of public camps and international aid makes Haiti to not recover from the disaster and continues to face significant challenges. Most NGOs come to Haiti not in response to a request from the Haitian government but for their own reasons. Aid was not usable and even harmful in the end. Moreover, cholera was a new breakout in Haiti after the earthquake, and it was a whole new big challenge for the citizens.
The next one is the importance of precaution steps to prevent earthquake. So the first one is that the family will understand exactly what to do if a quake happens, and it might be difficult to plan ahead of the time if a earthquake happens because they might have multiple family members to keep track of when it occurs. And the second one is the ignorance about the utilities that adds additional danger because an improper decision might potentially be fatal. 12.5 UTP student learning about Haiti earthquake. They can study their way of preventing it from happening in the future, so the student will learn to react when it comes to natural disasters such as earthquake. And they could also learn how to be mentally stable in handling this kind of situation, because panicking is the worst way to handle this inevitable situation. Lastly is the step that UTP can be prepared for earthquake based on Haiti. So for the first one, students should pay close attention to the existing message brought up by UTP and stay updated on this kind of topic so they can be aware of the campus news and be prepared and act on the standardized approach provided. And secondly, they can provide emergency shelter support for students and the staff. And lastly, UTP can prepare for future earthquake to avoid huge impact on building and life by planning for future UTP building to build at a safe area.
For the last part in this research, which is conclusion, we can conclude that we have successfully achieved the objective of this project, where we learn and evaluate the causes of Haiti earthquake and what ways UTP students can prepare for it before it happens in the future. The gathered data are from survey that we distribute, and the respondent is UTP student itself. In addition to the data obtained from survey, we also use some past case studies to strengthen the income for this research. Lastly, although Malaysia rarely experiences very severe earthquake, but we still need to take a precaution before it's too late.